Cool. All right. Welcome back to the channel. This is Living in the Inland Empire. Today we are going over ADUs with my buddy Chris here from was it Toro?
Toro ADUs.
Toro ADUs. All right. So Toro ADUs, what do you guys mainly do?
We do the design and the actual construction aspect of the ADU.
Okay. So how long have you guys been operating? What kind of got you guys going in business?
Uh, we've been about we've been operating for about a year now. What got us into this was, just being in real estate for being 5 years and then Steven about 25 years. It just seems like the next big wave right now is ADUs.
I agree. There's been a crazy shortage in housing since really since 2018, 2019. We're seeing it change a little bit, but ADU solves a lot of problems. So with you guys, who are you seeing more do these? Is it investors? Is it homeowners? Is it micro investors, bigger investors?
Um, Investors from all sizes, like big investors to just, mom and pop, some couple that has equity in their home they want to do a rental or, you know, extra housing for someone in their family.
Okay, and then are you guys noticing it more in certain areas, like, or is it just kind of like sprinkled without? Like, is Riverside busier than like say like a Desert Hot Springs? Is it
Yeah,
LA?
definitely. It's dependent on the price point of the area, and so like the Inland Empire is a lot more, or rather, a lot less expensive than Orange County, LA County, the Low Desert. So you're seeing a lot more ADUs here just because it's a lot cheaper to build, and actually it's a lot easier to build.
So it's a lot. I'm sorry, it's a lot easier to build. Where was that?
In the Inland Empire, like Riverside County, San Bernardino County.
And that's because of the price point.
Price point, it's easier to if it's like an existing house that you're trying to convert into an ADU or just trying to buy land to build an ADU, it's a lot cheaper here than it would be in LA or Orange County.
So with that said, are material costs about the same?
Material costs are about the same, I would say, because it's all California, but labor goes up depending on the county, and permitting also goes up depending on the city and county.
Okay, that makes sense. Are certain areas that you guys see, like certain cities, easier to work with than others?
Riverside is very good. Rancho's okay, or good. Corona's good. A lot of Riverside County is pretty good, and most of San Bernardino County. I would say like the one that stands out that isn't is Moreno Valley is a little bit trickier, um, or just certain neighborhoods that are a little bit higher price point.
Okay, and that's like I'm assuming that's because from an investor standpoint, it doesn't probably doesn't pencil out to like the returns you'd want to see, like as far as margins.
Yeah, because exactly, if you're trying to get that return on investment as quickly as possible, it's a little bit tougher if it's a higher price point in a higher price point area.
Okay,
Also, some cities are fighting with the state about things like impact fees, for example. So with those kind of cities, you're going to see a little bit more. How do I say it? Like it's going to drag out the process a little bit more than it should.
and you call those impact fees? What are those?
Impact fees. So impact fees are things like school fees or like fees that the city would charge you just because now that you're going to have more homes in a concentrated area, there's going to be more traffic. So they have to consider like, okay, now we need to account for streets and that maintenance, the cost of maintaining that. Um, just basically just infrastructure from the city and the surrounding area. They call it impact fees.
Okay, so like on the rebuild side, that would be kind of like a special assessment, but the builder just pays that up front.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. So and then like process wise, like beginning to end, say somebody wants to get into putting in an ADU or doing an ADU JDU. Do you know about how long it takes, like going through actual design,
Mhm.
engineering, or architecture to actually getting it done?
Yeah, design takes about 3 months, more or less. Um, that's because the city, and so the designer, the architect will make the plans, send it to the city. There's almost always a correction the first time around, so they're going to kick it back to the designer to fix those corrections. So it takes about 2 to 3 months.
Yeah. And then can you finance that, or are you paying like upfront costs out of pocket for those?
So when it comes to financing an ADU or an ADU conversion, there's different financing options right now. There's some lending companies that specify in ADUs, and there's also some companies that will do a DSCR loan, a debt service coverage ratio loan, where they just assess, they look at the blueprints and they assess what the rent roll will be depending on the size of the ADU and where it's going to be located. And from there, they determine if they're going to do the build or not. So if they decide they're going to go ahead and finance your build, then they'll put up the money, and uh, once it's completely built out, whatever the rent's going to be, they're going to take probably around 60% of that until that loan is completely paid off.
Oh wow. Okay. I see people hopping on here, but so about 2 to 3 months through the actual city, county, what have you, and then do you know what it costs about like to get started with that?
So yeah, it takes about 2 to 3 months to get the designs built,
Mhm.
or not built, sorry, like approved rather,
And that's
and then
through the city also.
yeah, and then it depends on the size of the like what you're trying to build, but the construction aspect usually takes anywhere between 6 to 8 months.
Okay.
And then what was the other thing you said? Sorry.
Um, I don't remember. We'll come back to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so more than often when people are adding these ADUs, are they breaking kind of building into the existing structure of the house, or is it like a full separate backyard type unit?
We're seeing both. Both. I would say probably about 50-50, but existing square footage is always gonna be cheaper. So if someone's trying to do an ADU and they're trying to just make it as cheap as possible to do, then existing square footage is always best.
So that would be like a garage, like attached or detached garage.
Garage attached, detached, portion of the house, whatever. I mean, whatever, wherever there's existing square footage you can build on, you can build on. Even above too. Like if the footings are correct on the garage, for example, you can just build on top of the garage.
Okay, is that much cheaper to do, or is it about same cost wise?
Uh, well, actually, so existing square footage is going to be cheaper, but if you're going to build on top of the garage, that's going to be more expensive because that's actually like basically considered ground up.
Okay. So like say you're building a whole new structure in the backyard, would that be similar cost wise to like building on top of the house?
So if you're going to go existing square footage, that's going to be cheaper, and if you're going to do ground up, that's going to be more expensive, probably around 100 to $150 more per square foot.
Okay.
And the size also matters too. So if you're going to go above 750 square feet, you're going to incur more impact fees from the city.
Over 750?
Over 750 or more square feet, at that point, the city can apply more impact fees.
And is that like a scalable thing where it's like 0 to 750 is X amount or X amount per square foot, 750 to 1500 would be about the same?
No, not really. So existing square footage is going to be the cheapest option, and the smaller it is, obviously, the cheaper it's going to be.
Hmm.
Uh, if you just want to do an efficiency unit, I think that's around 150 square feet. That's going to be the cheapest, obviously.
What's
And then
an
if you,
efficiency unit?
so it's basically just it's like the smallest possible ADU that you can make, where it's in the existing square footage of the house,
Yeah.
and it's also attached to the house. Like there's like usually a doorway, something like that, but it's fully functional. It has its own living area. It has a little kitchenette. It has everything you need basically to live.
Okay. And then what's like the biggest hang up? Because you said that you get hang ups like with design, typically it comes back or it gets kicked back. Is there any hang ups that people looking at doing this should be aware of that might make their life easier? That's like kind of a common one.
I would honestly say the biggest hangup is finding the financing because there's not very many lenders that will finance this kind of project. So most people that are able to do this usually have equity in their home that they can pull out in a HELOC or HE loan, or they're going to get a special type of ADU loan to do it. But the getting the financing is usually the most difficult part.
Okay. And then with Toro, you guys offer financing?
We don't offer financing. We're just focused on the design aspect and the construction aspect of the build. But we do work with certain companies that do financing.
Okay, that's good to know. And then typically it's just going to be more often than not like a HELOC or a second. against the
Yeah,
house?
HELOC second and cash always. Cash is king, so that's gonna be your best bet.
Cash. And so finance, or not financing, but cost wise, typically, what are people looking at? Like, say you have an existing structure, or you want to go with like your actual garage. Is there kind of like a bare minimum that people are at, or like an average?
Uh, for an existing square footage in the Inland Empire, you're looking around 200 to $300 per square foot. If it's gonna be ground up, you're looking more around like 250 to around 350, maybe even 400 per square foot, depending on the size of the unit.
And then on average, do you know about like what size you guys are designing, or people are
Yeah,
doing
so
this?
most people are saying in that 500 is well, from 500 to 749 square feet,
Okay.
just because
Yeah.
that's where the impact fees are. There's no impact fees, and it's just the cheapest route to go in terms of pricing.
Yeah, if you could save money, is the point is to make money on these, right? Or make your
Exactly.
life easier. So yeah, if you can save that one square foot, which is pretty smart.
Yeah, totally.
So if you're looking at about $300 a square foot, let's just say on average at about 700, so probably about 210,000.
More or less. And then also you have your design costs, which is going to be around anywhere between 5 to 10,000. And then you also have your soft costs, like the city's costs. So that can range anywhere between 10 to 20,000, maybe even 30, depending if it's the size. If it's a larger unit, it's going to be more.
Yeah. So okay, so just factor about 200 to 250 on the low end.
Yeah.
Okay, and then when people are looking like an ADU versus a JDU, what's the difference there?
So a JDU, it has to be built out from the existing square footage of the house. So let's just say you have like a 4 bedroom, 3 bathroom house. It has to be built out within the the floor design of that house. That's a JADU. Um,
So that'd be like if somebody had like an existing downstairs bedroom and full bath, and they wanted to wall that off, put a separate entrance on, add a kitchenette, that would be a JDU.
that's a JADU. Yeah,
Okay.
that's a 100% JADU.
So when you see like some of these investors or people taking advantage of this, and they're literally making their house into like three different houses without adding existing structures, that would just be a series of JDUs.
Sorry, one more time.
So like when you see somebody taking their like a house, the footprint of the house, they're not adding a structure into the backyard. They're living room and
Oh, I see.
main bedrooms are a unit, garage is its own unit, and then the other side, like they have like a full bedroom and bath downstairs. That'd be another unit. So you're taking one house, making it into three units.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you're going to take a house and you want to just completely turn it into a ADU complex,
Yeah,
then yeah, you could. The goal is to try to do at least a triplex, if you can, quadruplex. That way, you have a pretty large rent roll.
so when you're looking at like doing like a quadruplex, what do you know like what would be like minimum square footage or lot size, or something that would make like a home qualify for that?
Not necessarily lot size, but or square footage, but you're looking ideally for a house that's 4 bedroom, 3 bath with a 2 car garage with enough room in the backyard to add another ground up.
Okay. And are you guys seeing a lot of people doing that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. We're actually helping quite a few people, mostly small investors, married couple with some extra income, and that's what they're doing.
Okay, and it's smart. You take your single door and you make it into three or four doors. You expedite your portfolio that much faster. Do you guys ever get a feedback from like neighbors on like you guys are ruining our neighborhood?
No, actually, most people come around. They come around. They're curious about it. Like, oh, what are you guys doing? Like, what is this? What are you working on? And
Yeah,
more and more people are knowing or finding out what ADs are, but not many people know still what it is. So it's more interest that we get from neighbors than it is like, oh, not in my backyard.
yeah. It's kind of funny, because we've been, we're in the business, so it's like we've been hearing about these for years. But I'll talk to people about that. They're looking for like a duplex or triplex. I'm like, why don't you just find something existing and break it into two or three? And they're like, I've never even heard of that. I'm like,
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
like I feel like ADUs are, the news is everywhere about them.
yeah,
But it's
yeah.
kind of wild how it's like it's not a secret, but it's just not very well known yet.
No, it's not, but it is going to be the next big thing. Like how 15 years ago flips were all the rage, and now everybody knows what a flip is. That's what ADs are today. It's gonna be big.
That's a good, yeah, that's a good point. I can see that, because like if you do like a buy and hold investment, like a lot of flippers. That's kind of like the ultimate goal, right? You get to flipping X amount, and then I think that from what I heard, you want to keep about 1 out of 5. But if you could take that one house and do this ADU JDU thing with it, that one house turns into 3 doors.
Yeah, I would say that now the best formula is not to just buy the house, rehab it, and then sell it as a flip, but just buy the house, convert it into multi-units, and then hold on to it.
Yeah,
Because once that mortgage is paid off, you just have that rent roll, and all you're paying is property tax.
and that's how you create wealth. That's literally
Exactly.
the formula.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so with homeowners and ROA, can you really speak to that? Would you have like kind of an estimate on when like that say that like 150 to $400,000 investment would really pay for itself? I know it's kind of a softball or a kind of a out of nowhere question.
I would say I honestly don't really know because it depends on the overall cost and how much you're charging for rent in that area. But I'm guessing here, but maybe around 10 to 15 years, you'll actually see that full return on investment if it's like a 200 to $300,000 build.
That's not long at all. And then is there a biggest mistake you see with people when they're budgeting for ADUs? I mean, whether it be cash out of pocket or a second.
Big mistake is people underestimate the cost, so they think it's going to be cheaper than what it actually is, but they don't realize it's not just the build cost; it's also the soft costs that I was talking about earlier, like city costs, um, like the impact fees, taxes, and stuff like that. So those are going to cost. It's going to cost quite a bit more than well, not quite a bit, but it's going to cost more than what most people assume.
It's like any home improvement project then, but just
Yeah,
on a much bigger scale.
on a much bigger scale. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you know it's always going to be cheaper if you do it yourself. So once you get the designs approved and you get all the permitting, if you're a handy person and you know how to do construction, and you build it yourself, you're always going to save money that way, as opposed to hiring out a contractor to build it for you.
Do you see a lot of people do that? Where
Not
they
really,
oh
not
really?
really. No, I don't know if it's because most people don't have that skill set, or because I mean, if you really want to build it out on a timely manner, it's basically a full time job.
Yeah. Well, I could see that. I mean, construction is like no joke, but I get a lot of people coming to open houses, or they call me about getting into investments, and I talk to them about this option, and it's just like no, no. But I think there's just not a lot of like market research or studies, or it's not very common yet. But I think when people start to get used to it and see it, I think we'll see more people interested in something like that.
Yeah, I agree.
So with these, have you guys done quite a bit so far, or is it just kind of like you guys are just getting up and running?
I would say we're just getting up and running. We've only helped about 10 clients at this point.
Have you actually been able to go out there and look at any of the flips or walk
Yeah,
through
yeah, yeah. We're actually just finishing one up right now in Moreno Valley, and it's exciting to see. Honestly, like I really love to see it when it's completed like that. Yeah.
them? So with those, I mean, what have you noticed has gone right or gone wrong?
What's gone right? Uh, I mean, usually it should go pretty smoothly, in my opinion, honestly. But what's gone wrong normally is so you don't want when you're building this thing, you're usually trying to knock out like the main house and then go down to like the ADUs, and then if there's a junior ADU, then the junior ADU.
Mhm.
And you don't want to just wait to rent it out and then, or sorry, wait to build out the whole thing and then rent it out. You want to rent it out as soon as possible. So that initial time where like you're still working on the other units, and the main house is rented out, you're gonna have to let your tenant know, hey, we're gonna be doing construction here. There's gonna be some little park in the driveway. There's gonna be some noise on the weekdays from like 8 to 5 or so,
Yeah,
and that's something that a lot of people overlook, and that is usually like a pain point, not only for the renter but the landlord, because you're getting a lot of complaints like, oh, like
yeah,
it's like noisy. These guys leave this bunch of stuff all over the front yard or whatever it is. But yeah, they usually say that they're okay with it, the tenant, but then when there's construction going on all around the house, like they
yeah.
they
Well,
get
I
mad at
get it.
you.
You know,
Yeah,
you're you're probably giving them like a deal on rent or something to deal with
Yeah,
it.
usually you wanna knock off like $100, a couple $100 off their rent
Yeah, but you can deal with it for a little bit, then you have like a shitty day at work, or you come
Yeah.
home and there's there's nails all over the driveway or something, and yeah,
Yeah,
I get
or
it.
something like that. Yeah. Just noise in general, you don't wanna hear all this banging and all this machinery.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something to take in consideration when you're actually doing this, when you're actually building an ADU, is that you're gonna wanna try to rent out these units as quickly as you can. As soon as you're done, just rent them out, but let the tenant know that there's still gonna be construction around that area.
Okay. And then when these are done, are you seeing any issues with renting them out? Because it is kind of a funky design, especially like if you're looking in Moreno Valley. I'm sure in LA, Orange County, it's pretty normal. Or even like Redlands, I've seen a lot of them.
I honestly have not. They rent out just as easy as any apartment would or anything else.
Then does Toro offer not project, but like property management with these on the other side?
We personally don't do property management, but we have people that we work with who do property management.
So you have a company for it.
Basically, yeah.
Okay. And then when Toro gets involved, like say somebody comes, sorry, I'm getting comments, but when Toro gets involved, are they there beginning to end, or is it kind of like here's the template, you call your own contractors, or is Toro
No,
offering that?
we are the contractor and the designer. So once we get involved, we're gonna walk you through the design process, get the designs done, talk to the city on your behalf, get all the issues with the design that they want fixed, corrected, and then when the actual construction begins, we do all the construction from beginning to end. But we don't do financing, we don't do property management, but we will refer someone who does.
Okay. And then like with the finishes, is the investor, the owner, are they going through to like Lowe's or something, picking up their own stuff, and your contractor picks it up, or are you guys kind of giving them like a catalog of like here's this package, that
Basically a
package?
catalog, and we usually push people if this is gonna be a rental unit, like you're just trying to get a rent roll out of this, you're trying to get your first like investment property. We always just say go like economy class, something that's gonna be durable, reliable, it's gonna last a long time. But it's really up to the client that we're working with. If they want something nicer, we can always make it a bit nicer for them. It really just depends on the client and what they're trying to do. But we recommend if it's just gonna be again just a rental, you're just gonna collect the rent roll, just go something durable and more timeless.
So something that's gonna not be like outdated soon.
Yeah, white shaker cabinets, like stuff like that.
I have white shaker cabinets, but all right. So when you guys are like walking these projects or helping people, bidding them, or helping people figure out if this is like right for them, what would be like a red flag that would tell you that maybe this isn't the right property or the right home for it?
Red flag. Usually, if the property is too small, like the house itself is like a bit too small, or they just don't have honestly, the funding is usually the red flag. Like the client just doesn't have enough money, or they don't have enough money to complete the build.
Yeah,
That's usually the biggest. Not necessarily a red flag, but that's for us as a red flag that this is not going to work
it's more of a
because
stop sign.
yeah.
Have you guys ran into that where somebody, they want to get started, or they're halfway through the build and then the finances are gone?
Yes, unfortunately, we've had one client where she was ready to do a ground up behind her house, and then completely underestimated the cost, and then wasn't willing to move forward after that. And then we had another client who was doing a JDU within her existing home, and I don't really know personally what was going on with the situation, but at some point she just completely ran out of money.
Yeah,
So we just had to stop construction until she was able to get some more cash. So now it's basically just periodic. Whenever she has some extra cash, we'll just continue to work on it. But it happens, I guess.
yeah. So when something like that happens, like say you start the work, is like permitting only good for a certain amount of time, or do you have to start over with that?
Yeah, the permitting, I don't know the exact window, but the permitting is only good for a certain period of time.
Okay, so that part could be scary. So any underrated tips that you've seen that could help somebody save some money or save some time?
Yeah, underrated tips. I would say definitely look in the Inland Empire. Look in cities that have like a track record of being more favorable towards ADUs,
Yeah.
like Corona, like Riverside. Um,
So Corona, Riverside are easier to deal with.
yeah,
What about because I'm thinking affordability, like San Jacinto, Desert Hot
San
Springs.
Jacinto's great. Yeah, Hemet, that area. Like again, if it's a wherever there's more affordable housing, it's going to be more affordable ADUs as well.
Yeah.
I would also say look, or not look, but try to stay away from areas that have HOA. Not that you cannot do it in HOA. By law, you can. By California law, you can. But HOAs tend to put up a little bit more of a fight. Also, you can also do it in a historical district as well. But
Mhm.
if you do it in a historical district, the city can tell you certain things like, oh, it has to be like this color, this trim, or something like that, and you don't really want to deal with that.
Yeah. Yeah, it could add some headaches to it.
But ultimately, you're trying to look for a 4 bedroom, 3 bath, with enough of a backyard that you can put another ground up.
So probably about 5,500 square feet.
Yeah,
But like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then as far as house square footage, 4 bed, 3 bath. So you guys are probably looking on the low end, probably like 15, 1,600.
Low end around there. I
Yeah.
mean, as low as maybe even 1100 actually.
Okay.
I mean, you're not gonna get a quadruplex out of that, but you can
No.
definitely make some ADs out of that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking of a few areas where I've seen like really small houses on big lots, and if you could add two in the back, can you do two separate structures?
You can do up to two. Yeah, unless it's multifamily zoning, then you can do up to eight, I believe. Yeah.
Okay. And then, do you guys have investors that are looking at like doing multiple of these? Because like instead of doing like say like an apartment complex, like somebody developing land and doing like two or three doors on one property. Has anybody done that yet?
Um, yeah. So 2 to 3 doors on one property, yeah, that's the way to go. Like, if you can do 2 to
Yeah.
or rather 3 to 4 doors on one property, that's definitely the way to go. And if it's a larger lot and you have enough money, then you can also do something with SB9, so then you can do lot splitting.
Okay.
Once you do that lot splitting, whatever the largest unit is, on that new lot, that's the main house, and then you can add, again, additional units onto that, 2 to 8 depending on the zoning.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen some areas in like Ukaipa or Paris that would probably be like a no brainer on. But reason I ask that is because I've seen new build communities where they're doing half where they sell them and then half where they rent them out.
You can do that. No, you can
Yeah.
totally do that right now. So again, you can with SB9 law, you can do lot split. They'll have their own separate address, their own separate meters for everything, all the utilities. And then if you let's just say the old what was originally a garage, which is now like a 2 bedroom or something, you want to sell that off, but continue to keep the main house, you can totally do that.
So you can sell part of it.
You can sell part of it.
How does that work? Like, would that be like a co-op?
No, it's a SB9. So what the SB9 law allows you to do is to do a lot split.
Yeah.
So now it's just a whole different lot, a whole different property, separate from the other one.
Oh, okay. So it'd be like a detached garage that you're selling off.
Yeah, basically it's a
Oh, okay.
detached garage you're
Gotcha.
selling off. I believe you can also do an attached garage too. It's just it's gonna be kind of weird, but it's its
Yeah.
own separate lot as well.
Yeah, I can't think of any issues with that.
You can also start your own HOA, which is probably a good idea in that scenario. Not HOA, yeah, HOA, HOA.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gonna get real tricky. It would be better to just sell off something that's attached.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna start your own HOA, it probably makes sense. So that way you can maintain it, and it's gonna
Yeah.
less room for issues down the road.
Yeah, you're always gonna have issues when you have common walls, whether it's a leak in the wall or whatever. There's always gonna be something.
Yeah, and the first person they're gonna look at is the builder.
Yeah, true.
So, all right, we could do some rapid fire questions. What would be like the biggest myth with ADUs that you come across?
Biggest myth?
Myth, yeah, like
Oh, myth.
yeah,
Um, biggest myth. That's a good question. I don't really know yet what that
yeah,
biggest myth is because still a lot of people don't really know what an ADU is.
yeah.
So I think
It's still
people are
kind
still
of
just
niche
finding
enough
out.
that
Yeah,
there's not a misinformation yet.
not really. No, not that I've seen at least or
Okay.
heard.
What about a average project timeline? I think we already covered that, and it was
Average project timeline again, like 2 to 3 months for the design period, and
yeah,
then around 6 to 8 months for the actual build.
so about 10 months roughly.
10 months, yeah,
Okay.
more or less. 10 months to a year.
Do you guys offer prefab, or is it just
Prefab.
all custom?
We also offer prefab. Yeah, prefab is another way to go.
Is that more cost effective?
More cost effective. Yeah. It's. I mean, you can't do. You obviously can't do custom design because it's prefab, but it's going to be more cost effective. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I've seen those in Riverside where they'll have like those prefab ones and they're like 500 square feet, and they actually look really cool.
They look great. I mean, I don't know. I went to this event where they were showing like new prefabs, and before, it was just like it looked like one of those portable classrooms for when we were like in middle school or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I've seen those.
But now they look really good. They look like tiny homes.
Yeah,
They're really
I actually
nice.
saw a full community in Calamasa where they're taking those classrooms and they made like a whole like trailer park out of them.
Really,
Yeah, it was actually really cool.
that
Like
is pretty
the
cool.
houses looked awesome. The HOA over there was like $1,500, but they were doing their own financing. This is when everything was going crazy, but
Yeah,
it was actually like it kind of got me thinking. So when I see ADUs, I think of that now.
that's pretty cool. I actually haven't heard of that.
Yeah, I'll shoot it over to you. And then easiest city to get permits in. I think you already said like Riverside.
Riverside. I mean, Riverside is one of the best, in my opinion, that I've worked with at least. Yeah.
Yeah. Hardest part of the process.
Hardest part of the process, for the client or for the person that's trying to do this, the consumer, I would say it is finding that funding. Like, if you don't have, like, the equity in your home to do this project, then getting that funding is gonna be the most difficult part. Once that's done, I would say the hardest part is the construction. Not necessarily because there's gonna be issues with construction,
Hmm.
but what I mean is, like, issues with, the people doing the construction, but it's just a lot of, takes time. It takes time, and a lot of people kinda want it done, like, like, as quickly as possible, but
Yeah, like
it doesn't
anything.
happen. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. It's only 10 months. I mean, I think most people spend more time building a pool. As I've seen pools take 2 years.
Yeah.
You got any best piece of advice for anyone thinking of doing an ADU, like in 2026?
If you can do it because, condoization of America is coming. It's starting in the West Coast. It started in Seattle, and then Oregon, and now California, but it's gonna take over.
Is it condoization?
Condoization of America, yeah,
I've never
so,
heard that before.
basically, what it is like, it's becoming more and more difficult to own a home in America, so owning a small home on a small lot is just more affordable.
Yeah. Okay. No, I get that. And yeah, affordability sucks. It's rough. It's been hard. It doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. I've kind of seen Fannie Mae release their four pieces of what will fix the economy, and the most likely one is probably housing prices dropping 38%. That doesn't even seem likely.
I don't think so, but what
Yeah,
do I know?
yeah. It's I mean, it was to get us to pre 2019 affordability levels. The first one
Oh,
was
wow.
people on average need to make 60% more, so which probably isn't going to happen.
I don't see that, I don't
Yeah.
see that. No,
Number two
yeah.
is rates go down to 3.25.
Yeah. My
Number
opinion Go ahead.
Yeah, oh, go ahead.
My opinion, I don't think a house is gonna get any more affordable than it already is, so if you wanna build a portfolio and you wanna do it in real estate, ADU is the way to go, and you should probably do it as soon as you possibly can, just
Yeah.
because of affordability, honestly.
No, I agree, and it's not going anywhere. I know everyone's kind of watching the rates. I don't see them getting better. I think we're like 6.1 right now.
Yeah.
I had a lender on here a couple weeks ago, and he was saying like 5.7 is probably not even going to happen by the end of the year, and I agree with him. Sucks, but the economy's still strong somehow. Uh,
Yeah.
Job market, the reports aren't getting any worse, but we'll see with all the weird news going on now. But we need
Yeah.
either a recession, a really bad jobs report, or
That's
something bad to happen for rates to
that's
come
the
down.
thing, yeah, like, people want lower rates, but it's gonna have to be a real economic crisis where the rates actually drop to, like, what, 2, 3, like it used to be?
Yeah, it's probably not going to happen for a long time. I
I
mean,
don't think so.
I don't think even another COVID would would do that.
No. And then you're the realtor here, so, like, but I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but when the rates drop, typically prices go up, correct?
Typically, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's not like a direct correlation. It's just more. That buyer. Let's say they're approved for 500,000. At like a 6.5% rate. That rate drops to 6%. They just gained about $50,000 to $75,000 in buying power.
Wow.
So
Pretty
it's
good.
you get a lot of people that were priced out of the market to come back in. So there's
Yeah.
more demands. Supply wherever supply is at. More demand always helps with that.
Mhm. Yeah.
So um, yeah, it's like I don't see things getting any more affordable.
Yeah. Neither do I.
But yeah, but no, I mean to piggyback off that, I think you're absolutely right. Like this is a really good way for an investor, somebody just on a very small level that owns two or three properties to build their portfolio.
Yeah.
Because the name of the game with investments and buy and hold is more doors.
Yeah, what we call ourselves are is a micro developer, right? Because we're
Mhm.
developing real estate on a pretty micro level. And so you could look at someone who just has equity in their home that they're trying to get into their first investment as a micro investor.
Mhm.
This is the best way to get in and start that portfolio. And real estate, in my opinion, is always the best way to go. I mean, over stocks, over everything else, I think real estate's the best way to go.
Yeah, and I mean, I think, the last couple of years have shown us that it's a no-brainer. I
Yeah,
mean,
I don't know.
even anybody that bought, like, peak 2005, like, if you could go back and buy at those prices, you absolutely would.
Man,
For,
I
like,
wish
6
this.
years
Yeah,
after that, it was the dumbest investment, but,
yeah, yeah,
but, like, 19, 20 years out, it's like, man, yeah, they had some
yeah.
pain, but
But statistically, like after about 12 years of holding a property, you usually have quite a bit of equity in that property,
mhm.
regardless if there was a crisis or not.
Yeah. Yeah, it's because the econ or the housing market, it rolls in 10 to 15-year cycles.
Yeah.
We've been on a really long, run, so we should see a correction, but it just doesn't really look like it's gonna happen that way.
No, I don't see it.
If you wanna go back to it, 2022, we did see a correction, everyone kinda missed it because it was so minor and it happened so fast. It's but
Yeah.
everyone rates went from, like, what, 3% to 6% seemingly overnight.
Hmm.
Um, this is way off topic, but prices dropped by about 5 to 6%, and they rebounded within a few months.
Yeah.
So it's just housing's not really going anywhere.
Yeah. Again, it's just better just to, if you can get started now, get started now. Don't wait for like a certain period in the market, or whatever you think is going to happen to happen. Just if you can do it, just jump in now. In my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Do you have anybody that have you guys seen anybody like somebody doing like a flip that developed one of these and then just sold it as that?
So,
They bought like a house that was run down or grandma's house or something.
mhm.
Used you guys to develop it into like a triplex or a quad, and then instead of holding it, just sold it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. No, honestly, not me personally. No, they've all held it. They've all held it onto it as an asset. Uh, I don't know if it's because we tell them that's probably the best way to go, or because they just think that's the best way to go. But I honestly haven't met anyone that just did this and then just sold it off.
Okay, yeah, I was thinking more from like an investor standpoint, if it would be more worth it to do something like this because you could get the return right off the bat.
If
Not
you're
the
looking,
long term, but the
yeah,
immediate return.
if you're looking for the turn off the bat, right off the bat, then yeah, I mean, it's better to. I would say it's better to take that house, that 4 bedroom, 3 bath rundown house, and then instead of just flipping it and maintaining it as a 4 bedroom, 3 bath, turn it into a triplex or quadruplex and then sell it because you're going to make a lot more money off of that than if it was just one unit.
Yeah. Have you seen people do multiple of these in certain neighborhoods? Say like somebody has a couple houses in a neighborhood. Are they doing like two or three at a time, or
Oh yeah, I mean if they have the cash and they're willing to do it, yeah, you can. They've done. I've seen people do two or three at a time.
that's wild? Yeah, that's that takes guts. So any other like random pieces of advice or any stray observations? Maybe something we didn't cover.
um, no, honestly, I think we kind of covered everything. I mean, I'll just reiterate. If you're going to do this, the best thing you can do is look for a 4 bedroom, 3 bath with a two-car garage, no HOA, not in a historic district. Um, built after 1972, I believe, because then you don't have any issues with asbestos or lead or anything like
Oh,
that.
gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I think
Um,
it'd be like 74 is
or I
or
think it might be 74. Yeah, I
somewhere
think you
there.
are right. Yeah,
There's a
72 or
disclosure for it.
74.
Yeah,
Yeah, after 1980, you'll be fine.
yeah.
So you're looking for something like that, and you're gonna always try to shoot for a triplex or a quadruplex, um, and you'll be good to go. You'll be solid. That's a great investment right there.
Okay. Cool. And then when I get this all uploaded and put together the right way, I'll put your information in there if they
And
wanted to get a hold of you or need to. That's totally cool.
yeah, no, I
Okay.
encourage you. Yeah, if you have any even just questions, we always offer consultation at no cost. The first consultation is always at no cost. We'll come out to the house, we'll check it out, we'll walk the property with you, we'll tell you what we can and can't do, what the city would allow, what the county would allow, stuff like that.
That's cool. And how big is your guys' team? Like, how many people are you guys running?
It's honestly just about how many of us? 4 of us?
Okay.
It's a pretty small crew. It's a skeleton crew we're running here, but hey, it works.
Yeah, so it'd be like consultation, engineering, and then construction after that.
Yeah, consultation and then the design aspect with the architect and the construction.
And then you guys have all that covered.
All that's covered. Yep.
Okay, that's cool. But yeah, I'll throw all your information in there. Yeah, and if anybody has any questions or they want to reach out to Chris directly, I'll have all his information. But yeah, if you don't have anything else on that,
No?
cool. All
No.
right, yeah. If you got nothing else, I guess we could wrap it up. We're at about the 40-minute mark. Also, it's Toro ADUs. I'll have a link to their website, and then if you guys need anything from me, comment, subscribe, what have you. Thank you guys for watching, and catch you on the next one.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Of course, man.